I just find it utterly bemusing that they're not even involved, these people, and they're booing without actually knowing the issue. And is it still their body? Can I ask you a question then? Excellent. Is it still their body when they want to refuse a vaccine or lose their job? Is it still their body, yeah?
I mean, what if they want to lose the job?
Well, it's coercion by the government is what I'm saying, which is illegal. You can't coerce people into medical treatments. You see?
And you can't coerce people into abortions either.
Exactly. Who's making them illegal, just out of interest?
So what, you're trying to ban them?
I'm asking you, who is trying to make them illegal? Is the government had any moves to restrict or prohibit abortion in the last 50 years?
Okay,
No, it's a yes or a no. No, I'm waiting, but I'd like a yes or a no.
Don't force me into something saying that.
Force you into what I'm saying. What are they calling for? They have the right.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't want the right taken away from them because that's dangerous.
Right, and they want to butcher tunes from the 90s. Like, that's one of my main issues at the moment. Well, the line they changed is "I love you, baby." The irony is pathetic. Like, you know what I mean?
It's not your big purchase. You want that on site.
No, that's what makes them retards. Like, medically speaking, like literally, they don't even have the brains to think through their chant.
I don't think the man.
Well, one of the ladies said, and I am cisgender enough, said that she's morally outraged at the thought of not being able to have an abortion. And I said, well, other than rape and incest, other than unconsensual... No, I haven't finished my sentence though, so how do you disagree already? I'm saying, other than sex that is a pregnancy that didn't result in your own that wasn't the result of your own free choice, you therefore don't need that enshrined. You just need caveats for people who were unintentionally made pregnant. You see? If you had sex and you got... What about subtlety? What about murder? Do you have the right to be a paedophile? Like, what other abhorrent acts do you have the right to? Because there's a pro-paedophilic agenda, like a narrative as well, if you notice. I'm not saying you are. I'm asking broad questions.
Subtlety is like abusive relationships. You can't quantify it.
That's coercion. No, that is utterly not consensual. Even if the woman says yes with a gun to her head, or a metaphorical gun.
Let's say the sex is completely consensual, but she realizes she doesn't want to raise a baby.
Then it's not the time to start calling for rights. That's the time to start asking for concessions. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to say rape and stuff that's utterly not your choice, but if you fully consented knowing you've got an abusive partner, there's a case in America. The guy was running for office. He was openly a paedophile. His wife committed suicide because he raped her, even though legally you potentially can't do that. He raped her until the child was born and called the child, and I can't say it live because I'm live, an F toy. And wanted visitation rights. The woman killed herself, and that guy is running for office. And then people say to me, no, there's no pro-paedophilia. Like I'm not equating it with pro-abortion, but what I am saying is there is subtle nuance in the world, and just because you were drunk, or just because you didn't cross your legs, or just because. I'm not saying I ever had sex that I didn't regret. There's been men that I regret in their entirety, utterly. But at the same time, my mother didn't abort me. Even if you are raped, and I'm not going to say whether I'm speaking from experience or not, but that it's still never the fault of the unborn. They didn't ask for anything to happen to them either, and they're us without choice. And if you want to be pro-choice, where does the choice of the child come into it?
Well, I mean, the child is...
I know that's a lot of questions.
The child isn't even a fully born thing. You can't... a plant isn't a plant.
But
it's fully grown into a plant.
5 months, let's say. The baby is viable medically, as in not just to come out breathing unassisted, but medically viable. So in Texas at the moment, they've got a 6-week cap. And that's questionable if I was open-minded on the subject, which I'm not anymore. I used to be. I used to be visibly open-minded, i.e. I would argue for both sides. But the point is that 12 weeks, medically, you can be certain that the pregnancy test is correct. But unless you're rohypnoled, you had sex. So therefore, the answer may be to more sex education. It may be more access to, I don't know, counselling or something. I'm not saying women should be forced into giving birth at all, because miscarriage takes care of quite a lot of unwanted pregnancies, as it were, but also many wanted pregnancies. And that's the crux of it, is that babies are there are women and men who would do anything for a child almost, and they can't have them. So I know it's very distressing to go through birth and give the child away, but at that point, that's when you're making the real choice with your body.
It's the woman's choice.
Exactly. It's also a woman's choice to give up a child for adoption.
And they can. So
Yeah, they can't if people are being pressured into having terminations. No, there are. I'm afraid I know of cases where there are.
So that's people. There's no government pressure to get people to have an abortion.
Well, there's less. Well, in the benefit system, I don't know. There's pressure. See, there's covert pressure to have like single parent families. You get more money if you don't declare a man in the house, like things like that. And it's aimed against traditionally working class people who didn't have the educational level, like to counter them. I don't know if people can hear what you're saying, but it's in terms of being used as a contraception, like someone just pointed out to me. That's not a valid argument. Like, there's not a valid request to say. You want them, you changed your mind about consensual sex. It was consensual, and therefore it remains in posterity consensual. You see?
It's the same with would you advocate that every single person should be vegan? Like, if you don't want to have an abortion, if you don't want to be a child,
Sure.
then you have to.
But it's kind of a red herring, so I'm just going to repeat it. So the guy's saying, would I advocate that everyone should be vegan, or would I agree with that? Biblically, because I'm a Christian, the Bible literally says, don't disparage your brother because he doesn't want to eat meat, and if you do want to eat meat, basically both of you just get on with your lives and stop bitching. It doesn't say the stop bitching bit, or get on with your lives. That's a paraphrase. So that wouldn't affect anybody's life. If everybody was forced into veganism by the government, then I would have, and even if I was a vegan, I would have no. But what I'm saying is, no one's being forced into the vaccine on paper, and yet the coercive practices are illegal. Let alone, like the COVID Act that was brought in, similar to the Patriot Act, is an erosion of personal freedoms that has nothing to do on the surface level with, like, since Nuremberg, medical treatment experimentation on human beings is illegal. Governments coerce people. She's going to go into a coma in a minute, like from boredom, but I'm going to leave you. But the point is that forcing in any capacity medical treatments on people, I'm not talking about abortion, I'm talking about vaccines, is unethical and immoral and illegal. And yet you told you may lose your job. You may not be able to enter an EU country. You might not be able to go to a nightclub. They've tried all the fear. It doesn't know. It's not a vaccine. Does anyone do?
No, I know.
COVID does kill 23 million.
Well, I mean,
let me just tell you, I do. Well, flu kills more people. So in Australia right now, they're on an utter lockdown, being arrested. 600 people were arrested for. They just killed a load of dogs in a shelter because they won't let people out of their house to go and adopt them. 4 babies have just died who needed surgery because of the lockdown. 23 million people utterly locked down, and their rate of death from COVID is 1.3 per day in the entirety of that demographic. Like, I would say that's authoritarian to the extreme, and yet you get Australians saying, oh, but it's safety first. But
Australia is a police state.
Sorry?
Australia is a police state.
Oh, it's a penal colony again. Yeah. It's literally, the irony is unreal. Like, and they seem so chilled. Like, before that, it's all Castlemaine Forex, and next thing it's the Gestapo, like, raiding houses in case you don't have a mask on.
Why do you say you won't mind abortions? Do you not believe at all?
I would prefer if preventative, like, I don't, I only have I'm not trying to impose my opinion necessarily on others, but I am a Christian, I'm a theological debater. So if someone came to me from a religious point of view, I would argue that the Bible says that God knows the days of your life whilst he knitted you in the womb, like, not like pearl and cross stitch and whatever. But the point is that as a woman, I should be able to validly hold an opinion and not have, like, people screaming in my face that if you need an abortion, why don't you F off and go and have one because they're still legal, and stop, like, troubling my tunes because I've got to take it off my playlist now because it's sullied. I'm joking. So my feeling is that as I've grown, when I was younger, I was very, very militantly left-wing. Because I think all young people should be, to be fair, because if you're not at that age, Churchill said, you're, like, heartless. But if you don't, like, as you realise, it's actually my money that I'm trying to redistribute, and actually I wouldn't mind a sensible fiscal policy for my older, whatever. If you're not more conservative when you're older, he said you're brainless as opposed to heartless. So I would say that there should be preventative measures that preclude this, other than rape. Like rape is maybe chemical castration. I don't know what the answer is, but I know the answer is not to demand late abortions. In America, I promise I'm going to leave you alone. In America, on camera, in the Senate, they were arguing for 9-month, like full-term abortion. And the question was asked, well, what happens if the woman's in labour? And they said, well, we'll let the child be born and then have the tough conversation, which implies literal murder, i.e. kill the baby, like outside of the womb.
Yeah, then you could give it up for adoption.
Exactly, but that's not what they're saying.
I would disagree with that as well, but how about, say, like, when the baby is at a stage where it cannot survive outside the womb, would you allow an abortion?
Well, the thing is, the fact that you called it a baby is heartening, because most people who are militant would say this, like parasite, I don't know, collection of cells, but we're all just collections of cells, and we all rely on human beings for our sustenance. Ideally, like in an ideal world, which clearly we're not in, I wouldn't say prevent women who are screaming hysterically. Like, I'm not saying totalitarianism, but I'm saying I would love it if there was a society we could live in where it wasn't necessary. And if that means, I mean, there are, I don't know, thousands of men incarcerated at the moment for rape. And each one of those is more degenerate to me than any woman screaming for abortion. But my objective morality says that murder, I used to be the meat is murder brigade. I've done my whole stint, and then Pie Mash got me, and like McDonald's came back. But the point is that it's still the cessation of a human life, because Roe v. Wade in America says it's only potential human life. But sustainability does not equate with genetics. It's never going to be a kitten that is coming out of your womb. It's always human life. It's whether or not it can breathe unaided. And there are elderly people who cannot breathe unaided. There are brain dead people who can't breathe unaided. So something to think about. Like, just be aware. I've got photos when I was a teenager. I'm not casting any aspersions on your clothes, but I'm not. But like, I've got photos of me. At the time, I would have said, and now I look back, I'm like, oh my God, what was I wearing? What was I thinking? What was I doing with my life? So, and I had views that I thought they were my hill to die on, and it turns out they're not even worth, like, it's the long-term sustainability of societies. And when we have censorship, and when we have governments having to approve of protests in order for them to get any coverage on the BBC, this will be like it never happened. It's telling that they've got an agenda for people, and young people, especially my daughter, has been brought up in a left-wing education system that is cynically pointing them towards untruths. Like, it's not up to you whether you're a man or a woman. It's up to you what gender you want to present yourself as, but your biology is your biology. Like,
I don't think any trans movement is denying biology. As a trans person, no trans movement is denying.
Oh, they are. There's gender neutrality. How do you say that's not denying biology? They're saying there are no genders. So there's only 4 hospitals in England and Wales that if I want to have an intimate examination, I say, could I have a woman to perform this smear test / whatever it is, internal, that they will guarantee that it's not somebody who was born a man. Only 4. And no police station who wants to strip search a woman will provide like any information to you if it's actually a man who is presenting as a woman, whether they're pre or post-op.
It's not a man who's presenting as a woman, it's a woman.
So you are denying biology. I don't want anyone who was born with testicles with their fingers in my vagina. Do you understand? Because it's my body and that is my choice. Yeah? So, all right, anyway. It's all stuff to think about, but just try to see through the indoctrination. Yeah. Metaphorically.
In an ideal world, no one would have to have an abortion. But as a matter of practicality...
But why not? It's just cells. It's my right. I'm only kidding. I'm teasing you. Don't answer me, please. Don't play along with it.
But as a matter of practicality...
So I go back to rape and incest. Those are grey areas, even for the most vociferous pro-life person. I mean, they can say, no, it's not. Like, but there is a moral argument to be made by a woman who's utterly uninvolved in the process. Like, it's like someone comes along with a turkey baster and just book your necks. Like, but other than those, there's no, I should be able to go and sleep around and then I should be able to, because I've seen autistic screeching Americans crying their eyeballs out. They're not even pregnant. They're not even thinking about it, but they're screaming how they must have, fighting Satan and everything. Like there's the mentally ill attach themselves to movements that are not very logically coherent, and that's not to say that it doesn't happen on more conservative. Anyway, I'm going to leave you to your teenage years. I do apologize. But yeah, God bless you.